They said the Dodgers are ruining baseball. Let's get 4 more wins and really ruin baseball. Let's go.
Do you guys actually think the Dodgers are ruining baseball? That's the question we're going to answer today, because I've seen a lot of talk about this all across social media. And this topic mainly comes up with, the Dodgers obviously back in the World Series in 2025, back to back. That's obviously pretty impressive. Obviously, the Dodgers having the highest payroll in the league and obviously just winning everything, it seems like. I mean, the Dodgers have won 2 World Series in 2020 and 2024 in recent times. They've also been to 5 World Series in the last 9 years, which is really impressive. And they've also won the NL West 12 out of the 13 years in a row, which is just insane to think about. The only one they missed was 2021. So this is why a lot of the people think the Dodgers are ruining baseball, but I really don't think so in my personal opinion. But before we get to my opinion, let's go for why people think this, right? Obviously, I think the main reason is just the pay gap between all the teams. We're obviously seeing this, that the Dodgers have spent the most money, and we're seeing a lot of the teams at the bottom don't really spend that much money. They're obviously the #1 spender in Major League Baseball right now, and if you kind of scroll down the list of teams, there's really not a lot of other teams that are spending as much money as them or spending money at all. There's a lot of teams at the lower end of the league that haven't even spent a fraction of what the Dodgers have spent in the last couple of off seasons. And this doesn't even account the effect on free agency and the international market. Obviously, the international market has grown crazy in Japan with the Dodgers, with all the free agents they've been able to acquire over the years, especially all the Japanese players they've also been acquiring over the years. So that's another major thing to think about when it comes to the international market. With free agency, they've obviously been able to sign pretty much a superstar almost every single offseason at this point, which is another reason people are going to argue why they've kind of ruined baseball, which those are valid criticisms. I'm not going to lie. Those are good criticisms of the Dodgers, but I would argue it another way. Me personally, I don't think the Dodgers are ruining baseball. I think the Dodgers just spend their money better than the other teams. I think that's very apparent if you look at where they're actually putting their money and where they're signing players, because they're signing superstars that have potential to be really good and that they turn out to be really good. They've obviously signed guys like Blake Snell, Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, Max Muncy. They traded for Tommy Edman. And when they picked these guys up, no one really wanted them in the league. At least talking about the Tommy Edman trade, the Teoscar Hernandez deal, and then the Max Muncy deal. Obviously, Freddie and Snell were obviously big players at the time, but there's a lot of pieces they've picked up over the years that no one's really wanted or no one's signed that they've been able to turn into superstars. I don't know if that's the Dodgers' just great player development systems they've built over the years, because their player development is probably the best in the league for sure. I mean, they're picking up guys on other teams who aren't doing great, and then they come into the league and they're absolutely phenomenal. So it's definitely got to be said, the Dodgers' player development has been phenomenal. And if you don't think so, because they've signed a bunch of free agent talent over the years, I'm gonna pull up this tweet of the Dodgers player development. The guys on the top are the players they developed, and the guys on the bottom are the guys they got back for it. And as you can see, a lot of the guys on the top aren't superstar players. There's only a handful of guys that you consider really good. The only guy that's really notable is maybe Michael Vargas and Alex Verdugo, maybe Jeter Downs, maybe Connor Wong, but a lot of the guys on this list just haven't been good players, at least in other teams. And look who they've been able to turn into with Mookie Betts, Tommy Edman, Michael Rojas, Tyler Glasnow, Alex Call, Michael Kopech. Like, all these guys have been absolutely phenomenal for this team. So that's just another fact about their player development being pretty good. And even if you don't think these guys in the top were good, they were able to trick these teams in trading these players. So someone from that organization had to assume that they were good. I think the teams in the bottom are the main problem. And the reason I say that is because 24 hours after the Brewers got eliminated from the playoffs, they were already listening to trade offers for their starting pitcher, Freddie Peralta, who's their ace, by the way. He's their best pitcher. He's 29. He's under team control through the 2026 season with an $8 million club option. So you're telling me they don't want to extend his $8 million club option and want to trade him instead? And I'm supposed to believe that the Dodgers are the problem? Like, that is just embarrassing in my opinion. And the Brewers haven't spent that much money in free agency every single offseason, so that's why this is weird, considering Peralta's value is $33 million on the market according to Sport Tech, and the option's $8 million, so you'd figure they extend that. And even if they wanted to trade him at the deadline, it would extend his option. Just a very weird situation from the Brewers as well. Like, I don't understand that whole situation. That's what we're talking about. The bottom teams are the problem. They just refuse to spend money. So some of those teams that don't spend money are just never going to have enough good talent coming through their pipeline to be good, which is why those teams will just never win. And that's kind of the sad reality of it. Because at least if you're not going to spend money to win, you could at least do what the Tampa Bay Rays have done and just bring so many guys to your pipeline that have been guys that have been performing. They had a couple of chances. They've been in the World Series twice and it hasn't gone their way, but they've gotten pretty far with that strategy. And yes, they they could have made a couple decisions differently, obviously, but going to 2 World Series off that strategy by not sending money has worked for him in the past, and I think they're still going to do that, to be honest. But I think those teams at the bottom are the problem, and this is, I think, where the lockout could come into effect in 2027. But my personal thoughts on this whole situation is I don't think the Dodgers are ruining baseball. I think it's a lot of the bottom teams who just don't want to spend money and they don't want to put a quality team on the field and just want to profit off the team in general. Because if you look at that Ohtani contract the Dodgers signed with Shohei, it was what, 10 years for $700 million. They've reportedly already made that money back in the first 2 years of him being on the team, which is just genuinely insane to think about. So you got to think at some point, these teams will just start making crazy contracts to big name players and make that money back over time. Obviously not on the crazy level that Shohei Ohtani was, but even on a smaller level, I think you could still make the money back over time on some of these contracts, even if you don't have all the money up front when you want to sign that player. I think that could be an option for some teams moving forward, especially what the Dodgers have done with a lot of their players. I honestly do think if the Dodgers win the 2025 World Series or the 2026 World Series, or they get back to the 2026 World Series, I think at some point we're going to see this 2027 lockout happen where changes will be made. If you guys don't know, the collective bargaining agreement is up at the end of the 2026 season, so going into the 2027 season, they're going to need to make a new bargaining agreement. We saw this, I think, what was it, in 2022 when the season got pushed back a little bit because the whole CBA was going on. So that's kind of the similar thing happening again, and I think it's definitely going to be about the salary cap and salary floor. That's kind of what everyone's been talking about, and I would probably agree with them. But we'll wait to see what happens with that whole situation. Obviously, the fans aren't in the conversation. It's all about the Players Association and the owners, so we'll see what they want to do moving forward. But with that being said, what's your guys' thoughts about the Dodgers ruining baseball? Do you think they are, or do you not think they are? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everyone.